Hi guys, this is Vidas and welcome to another custom tutorial this week. It's been requested by my supporter Rolf, and today I'm going to teach you how to create a simple prelude based on Psalm 68 from Genevan Psalter. I have this Canadian version of this Psalter, and it's very useful when I want to improvise or compose something based on Genevan Psalm melodies. So Psalm 68. First, of course, we need to harmonize the tune, and then we'll know what to do with it, right? So let's play the first time the melody in octaves to get familiar with the tune, doubling octaves. It's a beautiful melody consisting of 12 phrases, and they can be grouped into lines of 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and 3, 4 times of 3. And it's written in D major key in this hymnal. And now let's try to harmonize it, add the bass line and the harmonies. Okay, so in itself it's a very beautiful melody, and this harmonization could serve as a prelude, but we'll do something different, something maybe easier for starters. I want to create two voice counterpoint, and first it will be presented in the right hand part, the tune, in the left hand we'll have the counterpoint, and then the second time we'll exchange the voices, and the melody will be in the left hand part, and the counterpoint will move in the soprano. So you could essentially use those two separate variations as your preludes, because the psalm tune is itself quite long, and the prelude doesn't have to be very extensive, so a couple of minutes would work very well, even up to 1 minute, just to introduce, you know, the song, the tune. Even shorter than that, you know, like a few phrases, you know, but for our purposes, one verse, one stanza, and variation on the tune in two parts would work very well. So to do that, we need to understand the rules of counterpoint. And there are 5 species of counterpoint, and you can choose whichever you want to start with. Each of them have different requirements, but all of them basically use extensively parallel thirds and sixths, and octaves and fifths in opposite directions, and of course sixths and thirds in opposite direction as well. And the general rule of thumb is avoid parallel fifths and octaves, and to do that we have to just constantly move the hands in opposite direction. If the tune goes up, counterpoint goes down. If the counterpoint is in another hand, right, we exchange, but the rule is the same. We move in the opposite direction most of the time, but you could do, of course, parallel motion between sweet sounding intervals, sixths and thirds, or use sixths and thirds interchangeably as well, one after the other. So that would be maybe species number 1, note against note counterpoint. Let's try to create a melody counterpoint to this melody. Okay, and the counterpoint would sound like this. You see how simple it is, but you have to practice very slowly. I'm just demonstrating to you. Okay, let's continue. Here I used a forbidden interval, which I haven't talked about, but I need to mention for you. It's perfect fourth. Perfect fourth is not considered a consonant interval in strict species counterpoint, so don't use it. And since I used it, I have to correct it. Henrietta, there is a very interesting stop flote 4 in the right hand, in the discant range, and it works very well for our purposes. But also viola 4, which reinforces the general 8-foot reed sound for the left hand part. So now let's switch and let's create a counterpoint for the left hand part. Right hand will have a counterpoint, left hand part will have a tune, Psalm 68. And it sounds like this. But since the division of this keyboard goes up to C, you see, 2 stops here, 1 stop here. So I need my bass line not to go over this tenor B. So maybe I will start right here. All right. And again, the rules are the same: note against note counterpoint, and avoid parallel fifths and octaves, use contrary motion as much as possible, and exploit sweet sounding intervals of thirds and sixths, major and minor thirds and sixths, fifths and octaves in opposite direction always. So that's a perfectly legitimate, treatment of the chorale tune, of the sound tune, of the hymn tune in the left-hand part. If you're just starting out in improvisation and don't want to complicate things too much, because it requires much practice, this type of playing. Of course, there are a number of improvements you could do: second species, third species, fourth species, and even a fifth species counterpoint. Just briefly mentioning second species would be to play 2 notes against 1, like this. If we start from the beginning with right hand playing the tune. Right? The second species moves a little faster now in the second voice. The third species is 3 notes or 4 notes against 1, basically quarter notes against whole note. Right hand will be the whole note. So and so on. It already moves faster than before, twice as fast. And then the fourth species is suddenly slower, but it's basically suspensions. You move perhaps combining second and third species, basically moving two notes against one and sometimes four notes against one, but mainly you focus on creating dissonances and then resolutions, like 4 to 3, 7 to 6, or 9 to 8, right? Or things like that. On the good note, on the strong note, you will have a dissonant interval, like a fourth, and then right afterwards you will have a resolution like a third, right? And it's always resolved downward in stepwise motion. For example, to remind you, if we have a suspension for 3, so then the bass line is stationary and not the right hand part, so I need another suspension usable for our purposes. For example, maybe 9th to 8, like this. Right here, octave. Okay, so we could start with the octave or with another interval, but let's try an octave. On the note D, we have an octave and then a 9th. On the note E, a resolution to the 10th, 9th to 10th goes downward. It's exactly like a suspension, like second to third, like this, with one octave apart. So that's species number 4. It's more complex, therefore you need to give more time, and therefore it comes after species number 3, 2, and 1. And obviously species number 5, it's a mixed counterpoint where you combine basically all other species, note against note, 2 notes against note, against 1, 4 notes against 1, and suspensions into a very nice fluent counterpoint like this. Like this. Okay, but for now I think for your beginning stages, if you're just starting out with counterpoint improvisation, I think practice many more tunes, not only this tune, but let's say a number of at least 10 hymn tunes or chorales or psalm tunes using species number 1, note against note, like I demonstrated. And it's customary to end each phrase with a cadence, and in counterpoint terms it would be like using a perfect interval, an octave or a fifth. So it creates a nice perfect sound. And of course, don't forget to switch the hands. The left hand also have to have a tune like this. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial with quick tips for your improvisation of preludes based on Psalm 68. And it's just one of the many possibilities, but I think it's quite a legitimate one. You could use your organ on two manuals, or a single keyboard with divided stops, or even a single keyboard without any divisions. One stop is perfectly, one sound is perfectly fine, because hands create nice sounds which are wide apart, and you don't mix various other chords even when playing the tune in the left hand part. Therefore the tune will be audible when you play it, let's say, on a principal registration or combination of principals, or even with mixtures. The tune will be present even when playing on one manual. Okay, thanks so much, and let's meet again in the next tutorial on another topic. Thank you.